Hello chaps and chapettes, and welcome back to the classroom. We're going to be looking at the next part of electricity, where we're looking at moving electricity, not just static electricity as we did last time, but where we have charges moving around inside a wire and then moving on to looking at circuits. So what we're planning to do today is, first of all, you need to know what current electricity actually is, and that's going to be electrons moving down a wire, but we'll talk more about that in a second. The second thing you need to learn is the formula Q equals I over T. Now, this is one of my favorite formulas because the acronym is just fantastic. So we'll talk about that as well. Third thing we need to do is look at being able to use an ammeter and how to hook up an ammeter correctly inside a circuit. Some of you will be doing practice on this using, virtual online things. Some of you may have a chance to go and look at this on the actual practicality of it in reality. But either way, the use of it is exactly the same in both cases. We're going to have to hook it up in exactly the same way. Okay, so the first thing we need to look at is going to be actually what current electricity is. And that's going to be moving charges going down, well, anything actually. It could be a wire, it could be a medium like an acid, depending if it's a battery or if it's in a circuit. So that's what it is. It's charges moving from one point to another. Now, in like an acid or a battery situation, that's going to be fairly straightforward to think about. That's going to be ions moving around inside a liquid, and you can get that movement quite handily. When we're thinking about a wire, though, the charge that we're thinking about moving is usually, and in fact 99% of the time, going to be an electron, because the electron has a negative charge and it can actually move through a wire. Now, I don't want you to imagine like there's this big stream of electrons moving down a wire. It's more like a chain, where they're all going along one by one. But they're all kind of pushing each other and getting pulled along and all that kind of business. And again, I don't want you to think like they're sort of zipping their way down, just sort of like this empty little tube. What it's more like is a bit more like Spider-Man, where the electron is grabbing one atom and then winging its way onto the next atom and winging its way to the next atom, basically swinging along like Spider-Man does from web to web, from building to building. And that's generally how it works. Now, the actual mechanics of this is fairly straightforward, and, well, we're going to need to look at the formula for that one. So what we're going to do is go back to my board, and we're going to have a look at the formula right now. Before we do that, though, make sure that you hit the like button if you haven't done so already. It really does help get these videos out to those that need them, and helps the YouTube algorithm put me into people's feeds where they need it the most. And if you haven't done so already, make sure you subscribe, because I'm aiming to get to 100 subs by the end of this term. So I've only got about 2 months left. There we go, and hope we can do it. So let's go back to the classroom. Right, so to understand the formula, first of all, we need to have a good understanding of what current actually, or how you can measure current. And the idea is that we have these charge carriers, basically the electrons, right? These negative charge carriers. And they are moving through a wire. And the best way to imagine or to quantify this, to actually put a number behind it, is to count the number of charge carriers going down the wire, or at least count the number of charge the amount of charge they have going down the wire. And there we go. Each one of these things, these electrons, carries 1.6 times 10 to the minus 19 coulombs of charge, the unit for charge being coulombs. And that means if we have 2 of these things, well, then we have something about like 3.2 coulombs of charge going down there. So obviously, if we have more charge carriers going down, we've got more charge. Oh, gosh, more charge carriers. Oh, okay. So, more charge carriers, or less charge carriers, less current. More charge carriers. More current. Oh my god, we're all lost everywhere. Now we've got another component in this one, but we're just going to write that down. So current, which is given to us by the formula. So current, which is given to us by the formula I, or the symbol I, is going to equal, well actually, wrong one there. I is going to be proportional to the number of the amount of charge, okay? Now we want to change this out for an actual proper formula. Because current depends on another thing. It doesn't depend on just how many charge carriers you've got or how much charge. It also depends on the flow rate of it, as in how many charge carriers you get going past this in a certain amount of time. So we would need to set a certain amount of time and allow the electrons to go past there. So the reason for this is this. If you have like, say we have like 2 charge carriers. If we have 1 charge carrier going past and then 1 charge carrier going past in a long period of time, then that's actually going to be quite a low current. If we have the same number of charge carriers going past pretty much next to each other, that's going to be more current. There's simply just more stuff going past there. So we need to have this time component in there as well. And then we change our formula. So we change the formula from being I being equal to, by being proportional to Q, to now being equal to Q over time. So that I there is current, Q is total charge, and T is equal to time. And there you go. Now this actually does have a nice way to remember it, and that's this. If you want to remember current, then you have to just say I quit. So the way you do it is saying I quit. So I QT, I quit, going down. And, well, there you go. So that formula there, I quit, is a really important one, where current is going to be equal to charge divided by time. And that's the idea that you've got these charges just flowing through a pipe, and a certain amount of charges are going to flow through there in a certain amount of time. And the faster you get, more charges you get going through in a short amount of time, basically you've got more current. So there you go, it's fairly straightforward. You can apply that to water and things. It's the same kind of idea. If you have a strong water current, you've got lots more water flowing through in a shorter amount of time past a certain point. So what we need to do now is actually look at how to measure this current, and that's going to be done with an ammeter. And I'm going to show it to you 2 ways, one with an analog and one with a digital meter. One of these is useful, one of them hasn't been used for a while, but we still need to know how to use it just in case. So, that said, make sure you hit the like button and join me at the back of the classroom. Right, now what we're going to do is show you 2 types of ammeter. This is an analog ammeter, and you can see it's got this cool old sort of school sciencey dial on there. If I just wiggle that around, actually, you can see the dial moving around a bit. More on that later. This is a digital ammeter, and this is the one that you're going to be using pretty much all the time. I don't think many people use this one anymore. It does have its uses. It's just not as precise as what you can get with a digital reader. So here we go. This is what it looks like. I've got my light bulb here to provide some resistance, and what we have done is put the ammeter in series with the circuit, which means if we were to track the flow of our electrons, the electron would come out here, zip around, go through the light bulb, come back around, go through the ammeter this way, and then back to the power supply. And what that means is that we've basically stuck our hand into the current to feel how much this is pushing back on us. And, well, that lets you know something about this. This thing needs to have really, really low resistance. Otherwise, it's going to massively affect the current of the circuit you're using. So this is going to have really low resistance, and there you go. Just see what it looks like if we turn this on. Now, this is a very, very sensitive ammeter, which is why this thing's not turning on right now, because the amount of current to make this thing light up is more than this thing can take. And just to give you an idea what it looks like, if I just turn it, see, straight away it's just gone straight to the edge. So if we turn the voltage up, keeping the resistance of the light bulb the same, we can see that the current is increasing, okay? And that's given to us by this dial moving around. Now the way that works is there's going to be a little electromagnet in there, which is literally pulling the dial around depending on the strength of the current. And if you want to know more about that, have a look on the video on electromagnets. basically more current, stronger magnet, so the dial gets pulled more to the side. Yeah, there you go. So this is the same setup, but this time with a digital reader, and you can say that this is much, much easier to read. We've got 0, 0.5, 2, 3, 2, 1, 4. But basically, we've got 0.5 amps of current going through this. Now, the reason why it's going up and down is because there's going to be small variations in the current, depending on this thing heating up, and also literally the movement of the wires. If I just kind of hold that up there, and I sort of bend these around a bit, you can see that that's drastically changing the current of the wires. And that happens quite a bit in certain circuits, and in fact into some of the sensing equipment that you can see later on. And there you go, much easier to see. Now, when you actually hook this up yourself, you may end up seeing this, a negative current. And don't worry, that just means that your current flow is essentially going backwards as far as the ammeter is concerned. If you want to get rid of that minus number, just swap your contacts around and, well, there you go. Okay, so that should be all you need to know about current for GCSE. And what you should have picked up from the end of this, by the end of this video is going to be that current is the flow of charge in a certain amount of time. You should now know how to use the equation Q equals I over T. You should also be able to explain how to plug in an ammeter into a circuit. Now, I didn't mention a challenge task at the beginning of this video, but here's the thing. The challenge task for you today is to think about how you can display current as an analogy. What's going to be the best one for this one? Is maybe water flowing the best analogy, or is that perhaps not such a good idea? Maybe you could imagine current as something else, moving down a wire or moving through a pipe. You let me know in the comments below, what is your best analogy for current? And I look forward to reading it. And I also look forward to seeing you in the next video. Have a good one, guys.